Breaking today, Prince William doubles down. It's now a matter of when, not if, he strips Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their royal titles.
People said it was a super important emergency flight. But if we're being totally real here, when Prince Harry's airplane landed in London, he wasn't coming to visit his family like normal. It was like when firefighters rush to put out a dangerous fire at someone's house.
Fire drill.
This document is the outline of Prince Harry's demise. It is the end of this wanky, skanky, ginger prince.
The prince who ran away and left his fancy castles to make podcasts was now racing back home as fast as he could. He wasn't coming back because he loved them or felt loyal to them. He was coming because the palace was getting ready to do something he never imagined they would actually do. They were planning to completely erase him like he never existed. Yes, you read that correctly and it's true.
Heard that right.
King Charles and Prince William still believe Meghan Markle is a bigger threat to the royal family than Prince Andrew.
The special titles that used to make Harry and Meghan really important and protected, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are about to be taken away any second now. And this time, it's not just the newspaper reporters talking about it and making guesses. Inside Buckingham Palace, where everyone smiles on the outside but makes secret plans on the inside, Prince William's plan to change everything is moving really fast now. The monarchy isn't trying to protect itself anymore by blocking attacks. Instead, it's throwing out the trash and getting rid of problems.
King Charles is turning a blind eye, but King William won't.
While King Charles is sick and fighting his illness, William is taking charge like a big company boss who fires workers that aren't needed anymore. And can you guess who's at the very top of his list to get rid of? The royals living in California, the couple who signed a deal with Netflix, the two people who left on their own and turned all the royal family drama into a business worth $1 billion.
Brand.
I actually would go as far to say that Harry is a traitor because he betrayed his country. He betrayed one of the leading institutions of his country, the monarchy. He disgraced the monarchy. He disgraced his family.
Harry believed he could leave the royal family, but still keep all the special shiny benefits of being a prince. Meghan believed she could turn the monarchy into her own business brand and own it. But the organization they didn't take seriously enough is way older, way colder, and way more mean and powerful than any Hollywood business person. Because when the palace chooses to cut someone off completely, it doesn't fight or argue with them. It just makes them disappear. And that's the exact reason why Prince Harry came running back so fast. He wasn't trying to save his family relationships. He was trying to save his royal name and title.
His name.
Prince William has in the past fortnight seized control of the British monarchy from a weak and dying King Charles, and that spells very bad news for Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie and Lily.
Behind the beautiful golden gates of Buckingham Palace, peaceful smiles cover up cold and heartless planning. What regular people saw, Charles waving from his car window, William going to charity parties, was just a fake show put on by the royals. Inside those palace walls, the stress and fighting has gotten worse than ever before. King Charles's health problems have quietly created an empty space of power with no one clearly in charge. And the man filling up that empty space isn't waiting around for a special crown ceremony. Prince William has already started being the boss of everything except he doesn't have the official king title yet. Palace workers whisper quietly about Project Renewal, which is a super secret plan to modernize everything that's less about keeping old traditions and more about fixing the damage to their reputation. The monarchy's good reputation has been getting worse and worse for years because of scandal after scandal. And right in the middle of most newspaper headlines are two names everyone knows, Harry and Meghan.
Terrible news for Harry and Meghan here is that William can now take away everything, their titles, without an act of parliament.
Every single interview they do, every Netflix show speech, every business deal they make has become another newspaper headline that drags the crown into messy celebrity drama and chaos. William's opinion is that enough is enough and it needs to stop. To him, this isn't about family love anymore, it's just business. The monarchy is like a company brand, and in his view, the Sussex problem is costing them millions of dollars in people's trust and respect, plus decades of their fancy reputation. His advisors describe him as freezing cold emotionally, always thinking logically like a computer, and never giving up. He's totally determined to protect whatever is left of the royal family's believability. Inside his group of helpers, talk about checking everyone's titles has turned into actual meetings with lawyers, looking at documents. The plan is to make the monarchy smaller and simpler, cut off the messy loose ends, and remind the whole world who's really in control of the story being told. And while Harry is across the ocean enjoying the warm California sunshine, his royal status and power is quietly being taken apart piece by piece without him knowing. But here's the surprising twist that nobody expected.
Charity report that was put out, it was exclusively dedicated to ending Prince Harry. Not only that, but it's literally a legal document that it's setting itself up for a lawsuit and a criminal investigation.
The very first name written on that secret list of people to review wasn't his brother Andrew like everyone thought. It was actually him, Harry. They called it taking care of paperwork and organizing files. But don't be fooled for 1 second. This was the royal family planning to destroy someone, just disguised and dressed up to look like a normal policy change. Deep inside Clarence House, lawyers started quietly pulling out really old government papers covered in dust. The 1917 letters patent, the exact same set of rules that decides who gets to call themselves his or her Royal Highness. On paper, it's just old ink written on animal skin. In real life, it means power that's total and final with no arguments allowed. William's advisors supposedly suggested it as a way to protect their brand reputation. The thinking behind it was really harsh and mean. If you don't work for the crown anymore, you don't get to represent it. And if your name brings scandal and trouble instead of respect and dignity, that name gets completely rewritten. It's as simple as that. What started as just chatting over tea drinking turned into organized meetings with agendas, secret memos written in code, and quiet signatures on important papers. The phrase being whispered around the palace hallways was title review. The first test case they tried was Andrew. They did it on purpose as a warm-up practice to see how regular people would react and respond. And when people didn't get super angry about it, the next step became totally obvious and clear. Take away the Sussex titles, wrap it up in pretty paper and call it modernization, and sell the idea to people as if it's progress and improvement.
They are a danger, honestly. Take this lesson from what Fergie and Andrew have done over the past 3 decades and do not let history repeat.
Behind the fancy decorated curtains, palace workers were told to write up talking points and arguments for when the story eventually leaks out to reporters. And yet, the one single person who wasn't supposed to find out about it actually did. Somewhere in their Montecito mansion, Harry's phone buzzed and vibrated with a text message that made his stomach feel sick and drop. It wasn't just gossip or rumors. It was a serious warning from someone. They're coming for your titles next. It was supposed to be a quiet, peaceful week in California. Sunshine, yoga classes, and carefully planned calmness. Then suddenly, totally out of nowhere, Prince Harry was seen getting on a private jet secretly without anyone knowing. No group of helpers with him. No smiling wife next to him, no leaks to the press, just one single goal in his mind. Get to London before the palace's next move becomes set in stone and can't be changed. This wasn't a trip to visit family. It was a last-minute emergency rescue mission to save himself. The official story they told the public was private business trip. The real truth being whispered by people on the inside was one word: panic. Someone had secretly warned and tipped him off, but the title removal plan had moved forward way further than he thought, and important signatures were about to be written on official documents. He'd been surprised and caught off guard before, but this time felt completely different and scarier. Once the royal family machine makes a final decision, there's absolutely no undo button to press. People close to him say Harry looked like he'd seen a ghost and was terrified. The rebel prince who used to laugh his way through chaos and drama now sat completely quiet with no words. Headphones covering his ears, scrolling through news headlines he had zero control over. Totally alone, completely cut off from palace information briefings, with his phone calls going unanswered by everyone. He had absolutely no friends or allies left in London to help him.
Harry found out at the same moment as the public, and his reaction was instant dread. His stomach dropped. He thought titles were untouchable. Now he's not so sure.
Even Meghan, according to sources and people who know things, told her friends she absolutely wouldn't go with him to London. It's his mess and problem to fix by himself. The jet airplane sliced and cut through dark storm clouds toward Heathrow Airport, but every single mile they flew brought more terrible dread and fear. Would anyone even bother to meet him when he landed? Would palace security let him walk through the gates? As the wheels touched and hit the runway hard, one single thought kept playing over and over again in his head like a broken record. They can't erase me and make me disappear, can they? He truly believed one simple phone call could fix and solve everything. He was completely and totally wrong.
It is shocking because in diplomatic circles, this means you're done.
When Prince Harry's plane landed in London, he expected someone to pick him up in a car, a schedule of meetings, a private and secret briefing, the kind of royal organization and planning he used to take for granted and expect automatically. Instead, there was nothing but silence. No welcoming committee, no official royal car waiting, no familiar friendly faces, just freezing cold air and text messages that never got answered back. The palace hadn't just formed tight protective ranks around itself, it had completely slammed and locked its doors shut. Harry reportedly asked and requested a private meeting alone with his father. He said it was urgent and personal. The reply and response never came back to him. King Charles was said to be resting and recovering, and William was listed as unavailable and busy. The real translation of that message: he's completely on his own with no help. Palace workers and staff avoided looking him in the eyes. Helper assistants redirected his phone calls to nowhere, and even longtime staff members who used to call him Sir with respect were suddenly cold and distant. The man who was born into wealth and privilege found himself locked out and banned from the very same system he used to represent and be part of. Inside royal offices, strategy memos and plans were flying around everywhere. Every single interaction and conversation with Harry was ordered to be written down and documented. Every time he tried to approach someone had to be handled through official channels only, with no exceptions. It wasn't being cruel just to be mean. It was containment, keeping him trapped and controlled. To them, and in their minds, Harry wasn't a son or a brother anymore. He was a dangerous public risk wrapped up in family blood. Newspaper reporters waiting outside guessed and speculated about secret talks happening. But people on the inside knew the real truth. There were absolutely no talks to have or discuss. The decisions had already been completely made. The signatures were prepared and ready to sign. The strategy was finalized and set in stone. And while Harry sat waiting and waiting for a phone call that would never ever come, one headline in a forgotten small tabloid newspaper summed up the situation perfectly and best. The prince who lost his place. Instantly.
And he constantly is living this life of demanding extra because he's Prince Harry. Bro, when you left the royal family, you became some random dude. Keep it honest. Who was Prince Harry?
So many people. They want all the privileges. They want all of the honors. They want all the plaudits, but they don't want to do anything.
Long before the newspaper headlines started, long before the Netflix cameras started rolling and filming, there was a quiet, private conversation that happened in Windsor Castle. A warning that was whispered by the late Queen herself before she died. People who were actually there say her message to Meghan was totally crystal clear and direct. Titles are earned through hard work and service, not traded like baseball cards. It wasn't anger coming from her, it was experience and wisdom from living a long life. The Queen had watched ambition tear through and destroy the monarchy before in the past, and she recognized and saw the pattern instantly and immediately. But Meghan, who was always the strategist making plans, saw things in a completely different way. To her way of thinking, the Duchess title wasn't a symbol of duty and service. It was a platform, like a stage to perform on. Within just a few months of leaving the United Kingdom, that crown-polished, shiny image became a business brand logo. Podcasts, documentaries, business ventures and deals, and now a whole lifestyle empire soaked and drenched in royal looks and aesthetics. Critics and haters called it Hollywood meets Highgrove. The palace called it exploitation, using something for your own benefit. For people who believe in traditions, it crossed a sacred and holy line, using royal privilege and special treatment for personal profit and money. And when Meghan started filing trademark paperwork linked and connected to her Duchess identity, the Queen's old warning came back up to the surface like a prophecy that came true exactly as predicted. Behind palace doors where no one could see, William's advisors reportedly used it as ammunition,
because in
like bullets
circles,
to shoot with. She was told and warned not to do it. She did it anyway despite the warning. Public opinion and sentiment turned brutal and harsh. Polls and surveys show that Meghan's name now triggered and caused more disapproval than even Prince Andrew, who had his own huge scandals. A staggering and shocking shift that the palace couldn't ignore or pretend wasn't happening. For William, it was the green light, the permission he needed to move forward. What Meghan saw as empowerment and taking control of her life, the crown saw as betrayal, stabbing them in the back. And in the monarchy's chess game of strategy, people who play against tradition rarely survive the final checkmate move that ends the game.
Paperwork.
It's him saying, look, if you are not a full-time working member of the royal family, you don't need these titles. Just like Zara Tindall doesn't have one of these titles.
Royal punishment and consequences don't come with police handcuffs. They come with paperwork and legal documents. Hidden and buried in the fine print of the monarchy's legal machinery lies a tool that very few people dare to touch or use. The letters patent, the constitutional blueprint and master plan of royal privilege and power. For over 100 years, it has defined and decided who gets to be called royal and who doesn't get that honor. Now it's reportedly being looked at and revisited again, not by the king himself personally, but by a team of people working quietly in secret under William's direction and orders. The plan is simple and straightforward, but surgical like a precise doctor's operation. Rather than a dramatic public stripping away of titles that everyone sees, insiders say the palace prefers a procedural adjustment, just quietly changing the rules. No press release to reporters, no big confrontation or fight, just a quiet update written in the official record books. One morning when people wake up, the words Duke and Duchess of Sussex could simply disappear and vanish. No scandal, no special ceremony, just total absence, like they were never there. This legal choreography, like a carefully planned dance, would echo and copy what was done to Edward VIII after his abdication when he gave up being king. Titles softened and made weaker, ranks reduced and lowered, history rewritten in elegant silence without anyone making noise. For Harry and Meghan, it would mean losing every single formal right tied and connected to their titles, precedence, who goes first in line, representation, speaking for the family, royal insignia, special symbols and crests. Even their children's future status and position could be rewritten and changed overnight in one single night. In their Montecito home in California, that possibility and chance reportedly sent shockwaves, like an earthquake, through their camp and team. Meghan's business partners worried about brand confusion, customers getting mixed up and not knowing what's real. Harry's team scrambled and rushed around for advice and help, but absolutely no one knew how to fight an invisible order that you can't see. Because when the crown acts through law and legal documents, there's no appeal, no way to argue or fight back. There's only the quiet sound of history erasing and deleting your name one page at a time, slowly disappearing.
At a time.
Thanks to this historic decision by William, and listen to me, it was by William, not Charles, to strip Andrew of his princely titles and all vestiges of royal privilege.
For many years, the whole world saw William as the polished and perfect heir to the throne, dutiful, calm, almost predictable like you could guess what he'd do. But behind the carefully managed and controlled image lies a strategist, a master planner, who understands one brutal and harsh truth. To protect the crown and keep it safe, you absolutely must cut emotion completely out of the equation and decision-making process. And lately, that's exactly precisely what he's been doing without hesitation. While his father recovers from illness and his brother spirals out of control, William has quietly built an inner circle, a close group of loyal technocrats, people who use systems and logic, media fixers, people who solve PR problems, image consultants, people who manage how you look to the public, and constitutional hawks, people who are tough about following rules, who treat the monarchy like a multinational brand, like a huge company that sells products all over the world. Their mission and goal is to keep the royal name totally spotless and clean, even if it means rewriting family history and changing the story. To them, and their way of thinking, Harry and Meghan are not villains, not bad evil people. They're just liabilities, problems that cost money and cause damage. Every single appearance they make, every podcast episode they record, every exclusive interview they give chips away and breaks off pieces of the institution's credibility, whether people believe and trust them. In William's mind and thinking, letting it continue and go on isn't mercy or kindness, it's negligence, like not doing your job. Colleagues and coworkers describe his decision-making style as surgical, like a precise operation. No raised voices or yelling, no angry outbursts, just cold precision, exact and emotionless. He doesn't need to humiliate and embarrass his brother publicly in front of everyone. All he has to do is let protocol, the official rules, do the work for him. By the time the paperwork clears and gets approved, the Sussex brand will vanish and disappear from royal records completely. No confrontation or big fight necessary or needed.
I did think it would happen. If Harry and Meghan are watching, they should be incredibly concerned, because if it's this simple to take away Prince Andrew's titles, one day it could be this easy to take away Harry and Meghan's titles.
The irony, the opposite twist that's almost funny, is that the same brother who once protected William from media storms and attacks now finds himself erased and deleted by that same calm hand. For William, the goal and aim isn't revenge, getting back at someone. It's preservation, protecting and saving what's left. But for Harry, it feels like execution, being killed or destroyed. So here we are right now. The fairy tale that started with a beautiful royal wedding now teeters and wobbles on the edge of being erased forever. The palace won't issue a statement or say anything official. The lawyers won't confirm or admit a single thing. And Harry's silence, his total lack of words, speaks louder and says more than any press release statement ever could. What began as a love story has turned and transformed into a legacy war, a fight over what will be remembered in history. And the monarchy never loses, it always wins. Imagine waking up one day and finding your titles completely gone, your family crest removed and taken away, your name stripped and deleted from royal records. That's not exile, being forced to leave. That's royal extinction, being completely wiped out like dinosaurs. And whether you admire them or despise and hate them, Harry and Meghan are facing the harshest and cruelest truth of all. Once you trade the crown for freedom, the crown never ever lets you back in. Not even once. But here's where it gets darker, messier, and even more complicated. Because the palace may not be the only one turning its back and walking away from the Sussexes. Even luxury brands, fancy expensive companies, that were once desperate and dying to align and connect themselves with Meghan's royal glamour are quietly pulling away and distancing themselves. And one French fashion house just drew a line, set a boundary she never saw coming or expected. If you think the scandal was shocking and surprising, wait until you see how far that fallout, the negative consequences, goes and spreads. In my previous breakdown and explanation, we exposed and revealed how Meghan's relationship with one of the world's biggest fashion names spiraled and spun into accusations, blaming, denials, saying it's not true, and a silent corporate freeze that stunned and shocked insiders completely. So before you go and leave, binge watch a whole lot of that expose next. It connects every single dot and piece of evidence the story couldn't fit in.